morning, folks. Welcome back to the farm. Boy, she's a windy one here today. In fact, it's warmed up to +6 here over the last 2 days, and we've had like a 30-40 mile an hour wind, and we've lost probably close to 18 inches of snowpack. So we're gonna take the big tractor out here today and fork over some bale cores, get some new bales staged. And the other thing we got to do, we have some escapees. Yeah, we've got some sheep over in the lambing pen that are some places they shouldn't be. Now, the thing with sheep is they're a lot like mice. If they can fit their head through a gap, they can fit the rest of their body through that gap. So over in the lambing pen over there, they've got a 36-inch page wire fence, and then 10 inches above that, they have a strand of barbed wire. Well, when you get 20 inches, 24 inches of snow, and they pack it down along that fence line, eventually they get to a point where they can fit in that hole. Are you being a goofball? Anyways, this is the pickle we're in. So we're gonna run some more barbed wire over there and put a strand in between the top rail of the page wire and then the first row of barbed wire, and hopefully that discourages them. The only thing with barbed wire and sheep is really they've only got to go through it once, and it's no longer discouragement because they wrap all that wool around the barbs, and well, then it just kind of disables the barbed wire. So we're gonna see how the Gator does in the skating rink that is our yard right now. Like I said, 6 degrees, 30 mile an hour wind, turns everything to glass. Had to put a bucket of water in the back just for some winter weight. And we'll see how she fares around the yard here.
I need to stud the tires. Keep going. Good job. Are you stuck? Yeah. Oh no.
Quick update on the tractor before I haul this thing out and go move bales around. Is it fixed? No. I've got the front drive shaft in my hand, so I'm still waiting on parts to couple the drive shaft to the front diff and get the front wheel assist back and working. But with this removed, I mean, it's just a 2-wheel drive now. So we're no worse off than when we were before, but it'll probably be midweek by the time the parts get here from Regina. If I wanted to replace that whole crown and pinion gear in the front to improve that spline shaft, that was gonna cost about $4,000, and parts were gonna be 5 weeks, at least 5 weeks, coming out of the States. So that's not a good solution. Anyways, 2-wheel drive, most of the snowpack's gone, so I'm not too concerned. I still have a tire chain on one side. I think we'll be all right to get around the yard today. So I'm just crawling around the yard in an idle here right now. I could probably give her, but seeing as how it's so icy and a lot of that snowpack is melted down, I just figure having one tire chain on maybe gives me a bit more traction. But if I lose traction and spin that tire chain, dig myself a hole, then I'm probably in a real pickle. So I'll just crawl around, slow and steady wins the race. We'll get everything done we need to get done today. We'll get our parts midweek, get the tractor all put back together. We'll be in good shape. But the challenge is gonna be, I gotta take the core of the bale from the horses here, toss that across the fence, and I haven't had the tractor in there for, I don't know, 3 weeks. And so there's a lot of snow in there, and it's pretty compacted. So I'm hoping I'm just gonna go in without a bale first, and just go in 3 or 4 times, and hopefully blaze myself a reasonable trail so that I can come in with a round bale, an extra 1,500 pounds on the front end, and not sit there and dig myself a ditch. Got a bale on the front here to take out to the bulls. I already cut the strings off. I like to do the strings out in the yard when we get deep snow like this. Reason being, once they get out there, I gotta set that bale down, I gotta back the tractor up, and then fiddle fart around. And often that's when I end up getting stuck out in the field, and it just becomes too much of a gong show. So I cut the strings off here, get the gate open, and then I just go straight beeline for the feeder, drop the bale in the feeder, and then get out of town. And I've had pretty good luck with that one so far. Well, while. I'm finally getting the side-by-side out after this thing's been parked for a couple of months because it's just been so cold and the snow's been so deep. But now it's warm and the snow is melting quite rapidly. So gonna get the old girl out. We're gonna take some barbed wire and the fence stretchers. I gotta run and get some staples. And we'll see if we can't convince some sheep to stay where they're supposed to stay.
You ready to go for a ride, buddy? Yeah.
This is our tack shed. It's where we keep all the saddles and all the halters and harnesses and stuff, but it really is a multi-purpose area. We also keep all the poultry netting here, salt and mineral, extra fencing supplies, and you can see the difference between these two. This is the 4-foot page wire that we have out in the field, and then this is the 3-foot stuff that we have here in the farmyard. And usually with the 3-foot stuff, right up and about here, we'll put a single strand of barbed wire. And it hasn't really given us too much grief in previous years. But like I said, this year was so much snow, and of course them pacing that fence line, that's what we call it, a sheep's foot packer, right? They're really good at packing. And they basically just packed it and packed it and packed it until they're closer and closer and closer to that gap. And now they can get their head right through there and just bink, and away they go. And the thing with sheep is they could have literally a feeder full of hay, but they see that hay bale and they're like, So that's what we got to discourage. Now, a couple of things I could do. I could get some, well, not this type of electric fencing, but I could get like a single strand of electric fencing. But being that it's been 30, 40, some below, chances of me being able to pound a ground pin in are really, really slim. So I am going to try and add some more barbed wire here. Just add another strand, just to strategically position it, hopefully kind of right around there, so makes it a little bit more, you know, I don't imagine I'd probably want to tangle with some barbed wire with my nose or my eyes to try and get through a space. So hopefully right around the 4-inch or 5-inch mark, we should be able to discourage them. And if not, well, then I'll have to come back to the drawing board, I guess. So this fence in here behind me is what I'm talking about. And you see the hay feeder. It's not like they're hungry, but there's tasty treats over here. And just along the top of that barbed wire, you can see all the wool that's bound up around the barbs, basically rendering that barbed wire fence essentially useless. And this page wire that's down here, page wire is, I mean, it's very, very difficult to keep in tension, very, very easy to stretch, very malleable. So if they apply any kind of forward pressure on it, they lean on it, it's gonna wanna move. So what I'm actually gonna do, once I get my barbed wire strung, I've got a small pair of channel locks here. I'm just gonna go along and grab the wire and just give it a 90-degree turn. Boom, boom, boom. Every square where it's loose, and just provide a little bit more tension and kind of reshape the fence a little bit. Because in some spots you can see down here it looks real saggy, and that's just encouragement for them. But if this doesn't work, yeah, we're gonna have to try some electric therapy. Well, it's after supper here now, and yeah, I did finish up the fence. That lasted about 2 hours, and then we know, okay, well, somebody's on the wrong side of the fence again. So there's definitely some learned behavior there that I'm gonna have to curb, and if I can't curb, well, then somebody's gonna be getting a free ride to town. There's two types of behavior with sheep. There's learned behavior and there's instinctual behavior. So learned behavior, like if somebody hops on the wrong side of the fence, and maybe they do it once or twice, you can provide some education in the way of an electric fence perhaps, or some monitoring, perhaps the dog, whatever. And if you can coax them to stay on the right fence, on the right side of the fence, then you can let that slide. But if you have instinctual behavior, which usually comes through genetics, so you want to watch what the mother and the father do. And if they're genetically they're prone to being problem breeding sheep, then maybe that's one that you want to just cut out of the flock, because down the road 3, 4, 5 generations, that instinct isn't going to disappear, and they're constantly going to be applying pressure to your fence, constantly giving you work to do. And so what I'm going to be doing here over the next few days, as I try to get them back in and to get them to stay in there, is I'm going to be looking at ear tag numbers. And if I see that same tag more than twice, well, then they're going to get, that number's going to be in my book for the spring. Anyways, that's how the fencing project went. Not that superb, but the wire is up. I'll go there tomorrow in the daylight and see where they're applying the pressure, see if I can just sew that up a little bit better. Again, that'll help with the learned behavior versus the instinctual behavior. Before I go though, I do want to come back and touch on, day before yesterday's video, the last video I did a video on the 5 things that you may not be able to buy in 2022. And one of our regular viewers had given some feedback and said, you know what, I don't know if I agree with you. I'm certainly not seeing that here in terms of like empty shelves and things like that. Well, lo and behold, today got a message back. Went to the store. Sure enough, what do you know? Shelves not empty, but you know, definitely less capacity, and things that you would routinely buy, you're having to make, you know, some alternate purchases. And so it's interesting anyways to see, I mean, I can only speak to what I see, but it's definitely interesting to see or hear from other people as to what they're seeing in their communities. So if you are seeing any kind of shortages, or if you're seeing where, you know, things that you would routinely buy being, you know, long-term delivery, or there's just less availability, let me know in the comment section. I just want to hear, what is it? Where do you live? You know, what's the impact to you? That's just because again, I can only speak to what I see or what's in our community. So I want to get a better perspective of what's really happening in the broader world. So leave me a comment in the comment section down below. I'm also, if you missed it, I'm going to leave a link to the day before yesterday's video down in the description. And if you haven't watched it, highly recommend, go watch that one. Comment on that one. Let me know what you think. If I nailed it or if I completely missed, I'd really be interested to hear your perspective. But for now, it's getting on late in the evening and it's probably time for a cup of tea. So I'll let you go for now. I hope you have a fantastic evening and we'll see you tomorrow.